Hi, I'm Gretchen Menn, and I'm here with acoustic guitar today to talk about arpeggios. So arpeggios are incredibly valuable tools for your musical vocabulary. They can provide accompaniment, they can be lead lines, and they are ubiquitous across all musical genres. One of the first things I learned on classical guitar was a Leo Brouwer study, number 6, and that's pure arpeggios. One of the first things I wanted to learn on electric guitar, humorously enough, I asked my teacher, I think I'd taken maybe 2 or 3 lessons, to show me Too Many Notes by Steve Morse, which is ridiculously difficult to play, but he very kindly transcribed it for me anyway. And that's all arpeggios too. So you can find them across a huge range of musical genres. So you can use arpeggios across tons of genres, specifically in the classic rock genre. One of the things that I play a lot of is Led Zeppelin. Babe, I'm Gonna Leave You is a great example of that. I'm Gonna Crawl. Things like through Robert Johnson, Rolling Stones, you have them everywhere. So the solution, and the way that I recommend just starting to get familiar with any new technique, is to try to see if you can start with something that is familiar and then start incorporating the new technique. So what we can start with is a familiar, just open G chord. The difference between a chord played melodically and harmonically is basically what defines an arpeggio. So if you play all the notes together, that's playing it harmonically. If you play individual notes, that's an arpeggio. So exercise 1, we're going to play a G major chord, we're going to play the arpeggio, and then the chord again. You can use a pick, you can use your fingers, I'm just using my fingers. Okay, so in example 2, each of these examples is going to build on the previous one. So this one, what we're going to do is we're going to add another chord. We're going to go from G major to E minor. Both of these are probably familiar chords, but part of the reason I picked them is because they're closely related. They share 2 out of 3 common notes. And you can easily get from one to the other by pivoting on your first finger, so holding that down. That B note on the 2nd fret of the A string is common between the 2 of them. So all you really need to do is lift your fingers and add the E note on the D string, the 2nd fret. So example 2 would go . In example 3, we're going to start looking at some more specific right hand finger patterns. The first couple examples I was just using whatever was most comfortable at that moment. But part of developing a comfortable arpeggio style for your right hand is getting more comfortable using all of your fingers in a way that makes sense. If you're new to classical guitar or to fingerstyle guitar, what you're going to find is each one of your fingers actually has a different tone. For a lot of people, and for me, my 3rd finger was my weakest. So in order to balance the tone, you have to really use your ears. And you might find that you need to do something that might feel like overplaying to get the same sound from each of the fingers. So I recommend playing very slowly and paying attention to the sound of each note. We're going to keep the same 2 chords, G major to E minor, and we're going to use the finger pattern 3rd finger, 2nd finger, 1st finger, thumb. So that's notated A, M, I, and P. So example 3. So example 4 reverses the direction. So you're going to be starting with your thumb, first finger, middle finger, and then ring finger. Same chord progression. So once you have the first few exercises down, what I recommend is start trying to make them more musical. Once you have some comfort and ease in your right hand, once you get comfortable moving between the different chords with your left hand, then you can start adding change of melodic direction and things like that that'll make things start to sound more like music and less like a technical exercise. So in each one of these, we're going to build a little bit, one on the next, so you can see how you can take something from a very rudimentary concept and then turn it into something that sounds a little bit more like music. So in this one, we're going to be changing the melodic direction and using the same 2 chords. All right, this is example 5. In example 6, we're going to add bass notes played simultaneously to the treble notes on the first and third beats of each measure. So that's going to be without any notes fretted. That's going to be using your thumb and one of your right hand fingers at the same time, or picking hand fingers if you're left-handed. So same 2 chords, G major, E minor. This is example 6. So in example 7, we're going to be going through a couple more harmonies. By moving one note at a time, it's very graceful to play, and you can also add a little bit more harmonic interest. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be going through G major, and then G with an F sharp in the bass, which is a G major 7, and then going to E. And then in the second bar of the example, we've got C going to C major 7 with the lowest note moving down by a half step. And then going to an A minor 7. Okay, this is example 7. Once you're comfortable with the first 7 examples, you can move on to example 8, and that's where we add some bass notes again against the upper notes. I added one other chord in here at the very end, D major, which then leads you back nicely to the root of G major. This is example 8. With anything, I recommend playing very slowly, very methodically, and really letting your ears be your guide. It can be very helpful to use a metronome to keep you honest with your tempos, and I recommend starting a lot slower than you think you need to. One of the things I often think of myself is before I go faster, I think, can I play this better? And usually the answer is, yeah, I probably need to play it better before I play it faster. So I recommend doing that. The other thing I always recommend, especially with learning any new concept, is try to write with it. Try to make it your own, because that'll give it immediate relevance, and it also will keep you from just approaching music like it's a technical exercise. Ultimately, technical exercises are only to give you a greater vocabulary that then you can actually say something that's musical. Okay, so thank you for checking this out. My name is Gretchen Men. I'm with acoustic guitar. And have a wonderful time with music. Celebrate it, be patient with yourself, and remember that it's all about communicating something beautiful within you.